Hi everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me for another royal news video. So unfortunately, I managed to kick over my brand new expensive camera equipment earlier and now it's not charging. So we've had to revert back to using my trusted iPhone. So I do apologise if the sound quality is slightly less than it usually is. I will get that fixed as soon as possible. So as for today's video, I've decided to do a bit of a royal roundup. We've had lots of news stories that have come out, and then obviously we've had some Harry and Meghan stuff, which I'm going to feed in between. So I'm going to take you up, drop you down, take you up, and hopefully we will end on a high. So to start off with, we've got to talk about Archie's birthday photograph. I found this photograph sad and lonely. It reminded me of the one that they took of him reportedly in the Montecito garden holding a single solitary balloon. There are never any photographs of the children actually running around, skipping, playing, having fun, laughing, giggling. You know, natural photographs that we all have of our childhood. The photographs are so heavily edited and really staged, like the children are little more than props. And as for this photograph with him looking out at the sunset, I can honestly imagine Meghan wanting the perfect photograph. Poor Archie squinting his eyes as she's telling him, bit to the left, bit to the right, Archie, look up, until she gets the perfect shot. And as for a little boy being dressed in striped pajamas, stood behind a wall, it gives me more prison vibes rather than happy birthday vibes. But she did say in the post that we celebrated Archie's birthday the week before with friends, and thank you everybody for coming. Again, what did I say in my last video? I do not believe that the 6th of May is Archie's real birthday. And that to me just adds further fuel on that particular conspiracy of mine. Now, another thing that is worth bringing up about this, they were reportedly in a dangerous part of Mexico that is so dangerous that the UK and the USA Travel Board warn against any unnecessary travel due to the serious crime rates where it's extremely high in kidnapping. It's another bizarre example of those two actively putting themselves and their children in a potential security risk situation. Also, another thing I find bizarre, I mean, the list is pretty long when it comes to Harry and Meghan and especially the children. Why is it paparazzi can find Catherine and William when they go on holiday? Now, they do have 24/7 security with them to keep them safe. We have photographs released of them, private ones, some of them which have been unforgivable, especially of Catherine when they've been on private holidays. But no one has ever caught photographs of Archie and Lily. It's becoming more and more bizarre with the children being 3 and 6 years old that nobody ever sees them, with the exception of the 2 July 4th outings. But I have a feeling that they were set up. Harry knew the paparazzi was there. He looks like he's smirking. He had a friend with them who I can politely say was the size of a double fridge that could have easily stood in front of them if they didn't want the photographs taken. And it's the same with Archie at another July 4th parade. It looks to me like they have deliberately moved out of the way to make sure that the family are captured on camera. I believe that these are set up and staged, and no doubt money has exchanged hands for those photographs to be released. Now let's move away from them and let's talk about our English Rose, the Princess of Wales, who now has her very own English rose named after her. This stunning coral pink rose called Catherine's Rose was grown by Harkness Roses, and proceeds from the sale of this rose will go towards supporting the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity. And the Royal Horticultural Society said that the rose is in celebration of Catherine's work, highlighting the incredible healing power of nature, and it has hints of mango and Turkish delight. So yes, a fantastic tribute to our fantastic Princess of Wales. This is where I'm saying that it's going to go up and it's going to go down, because we've got one that's gone down. This is Meghan. Meghan is getting sued. I think it's up to $10 million that a woman is after from Meghan because she used the recipe from With Love Meghan, the Daniel Martin bath salts episode. She has reportedly ended up with over 18 burns across her body after she copied the recipe after watching the show. Meghan's legal representative said it's not our problem because she should know that diabetics are advised not to use Epsom salts. Oh, there's that compassion in action again. But it's not just the salts. It's the fact, if you watch that episode, Meghan Free pours like pure oil, arnica oil and lavender oil into this. Now, anybody that has mixed oils before, you need a carrier oil. It's called a carrier oil because it means that it makes it safe for it to be carried to your skin. It works as a base and it makes it safe for creams, ointments, bath oils. Meghan doesn't do that. Meghan doesn't say that. So I can imagine this is going to be one of many that might come forward. So I'd imagine that Netflix might want to put a little bit of a warning. Please do not copy anything that Meghan does in this, because I think much like everything else, Meghan doesn't make bath salts for her friends. This was something that she decided she wanted to do for the show and she winged it. But of course, only Meghan Markle could create a lovely present for her friends coming to stay, and in fact she makes a toxic bath bomb. Everything that woman touches turns into some sort of toxic mess. Now, yesterday was the official 80th anniversary of VE Day. Seeing so many landmarks lit up, seeing London draped in the Union flag was absolutely fantastic. I hope we see our flag displayed a lot more often. The many veterans parties that were held all over the UK certainly instills a sense of pride and of course gratitude as the country remembers what those incredible men and women did for us. There was a Thanksgiving service held at Westminster Abbey yesterday, attended by many veterans, politicians, both current and former, and of course the royal family. There was a very special young guest present as well, the great-great-grandson of Winston Churchill, 10-year-old Alexander Churchill, photographed here in an iconic photograph meeting 103-year-old war veteran John after the service. It really is quite the stunning photograph. The televised event started with a 2-minute silence to honour those that made sacrifices to protect our freedoms, with King Charles and Prince William laying a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier, with Princess Catherine and Queen Camilla paying their respects, stood side by side. All of the royals laid flowers outside upon leaving on the Innocent Victims Memorial just outside the Abbey, as they all took in a moment to reflect on the many lives that have been lost. The flowers were gifted to the women by some lovely young ladies who were waiting outside the service, with Catherine taking the time to crouch down and chat to one particularly shy youngster. Now, obviously, VE Day is about remembering the fallen, honouring the veterans, and of course the military. But can I just please take a minute here to discuss the royal ladies' hats? All of them looked lovely, and they really, when it came to hats, they brought their A game. The Duchess of Gloucester looked lovely in a matching cream outfit. The Princess Royals was beautiful, where it matched the colours of the grey-blue coat that she was wearing. And her husband, Vice Admiral Sir Timothy Lawrence, who was accompanying her, looked rather dapper himself. Queen Camilla's hat was also rather special, definitely the main feature of her outfit. Catherine's was so pretty, I love the netting, and it complemented her polka dot dress perfectly. But it was Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, whose hat, I have to say, was extraordinary. It looked beautiful when you looked at it from either side. That hat is honestly incredible. Although I admit I wasn't a fan of her dress, but that's, you're not going to love everything that the royals wear. Love the hat, not so much the dress. But Sophie, the day before, she went to the Buckingham Palace garden party, the first one that was held. She was there alongside the King and Queen. And she looked incredible. The whole outfit, the hat, the dress, the shoes, that from head to toe, I would copy. She looked gorgeous. And Prince Edward, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, side by side, they are another incredibly handsome couple. Now, in Queen Elizabeth II's memory, they have suggested 5 different tributes. I don't like any of them apart from this one. This is a beautiful tribute to Queen Elizabeth, who loved horses. The others are boring and pointless. They're bridges and walkways and gardens. And for those of you that didn't see me on Dan Wootton's show, I said that there's nothing to remember Queen Elizabeth by. After 5 years or 10 years, people will just walk over Queen Elizabeth Bridge, Queen Elizabeth Road, Queen Elizabeth Gardens. It won't mean anything. But a glorious big statue of Queen Elizabeth, like we see some incredible people in history throughout when you go to London. Now that, you want to see that, you want to be reminded, and she deserves a tribute as fitting as that. Now, speaking of tributes, the King and Queen have unveiled 2 new portraits, and only one of them I actually like. King Charles and Queen Camilla opened 2 new portraits at the National Portrait Gallery, with the Queen meeting 2 very sweet young girls who were very excited to meet her. Now, as for the actual portraits, Queen Camilla's was incredible. It looks like a photograph at first glance. The detail is mind-blowing. The way that she pops out of the painting, it's beautiful. And it looks exactly like her. The King's, however, when he opened it, and especially because it was opposite Queen Camilla's, it was one of those moments where I was like, no, sorry, no. I didn't like the last big portrait of the King. It was incredible. The red one was incredible of King Charles's features, but I didn't like the background. I didn't like the way he blended into it. I know some people got upset with me saying I didn't like it. I guess art is subjective. To me, it looked like hellfire. I did not like it. Whereas this one is the polar opposite. The features look almost cartoonish of the King. He doesn't stand out against the background. The background has gone into such great detail and he just blends into it. It reminds me of when you find an old painting that is in desperate need of restoration. It needs that little bit of sprucing up. That's what it looks like. And to have it in contrast to Queen Camilla's, they really should have got the same artist to do both portraits. But I do have a suggestion. I like King Charles in this one, hate the background, like the background in this one, don't like King Charles. So can we just do like a cut and paste and do a switcheroo and switch them round? Tell me your thoughts on that one. Do you like the new portrait, or are you like me and find it a bit of a disappointment? Now, speaking of disappointments, it's time for another Harry story. In another blow for Harry and the charities and organisations he's affiliated with, African Parks has been found guilty of human rights abuses against the indigenous Baka people of the Congo. An investigation carried out by a London firm has shown that these atrocities have been committed. The charity has been accused of its colonialist and racist approach to protecting areas. You only have to look at the photograph that I've shared before of the board members to kind of get an idea of things that might not be right with this particular organisation. It has long been a bone of contention between both princes, Harry and William, long before Meghan came along, with the style that they choose when it comes to conservation, with William choosing to work alongside the indigenous people and find solutions together, benefiting those people that actually live in the areas that they are trying to do the conservation, providing jobs for them, getting them involved. Whereas Harry's approach, or rather African Parks, is that what people call the colonialist. And that is where a group of board members, a group of rich people come in, take over, treat the people whose land it is terribly, displacing them in some cases, or in worse cases, the things that have been done to the Baka people, terrorising them and making sure that they eventually leave the land whilst they protect it, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things wrong with this, but I do hope with this coming out, it's now the start of protection being put in place for the Baka people. And not just the Baka people, the whole organisation needs looking into other areas that they also have rangers protecting and doing conservation, because I'm pretty certain it won't just be the Baka people that have been affected. Now we're going to take you back up and put you in a good mood, because we had a double royal outing yesterday. There wasn't just a Thanksgiving service at Westminster Abbey, there was a huge VE Day concert held at the Horse Guard Parade, which saw all of our favourite royals out back in attendance having a lovely time with the special veteran guests. Catherine and William arrived, and all I can say about this entire look is wow. She looked gorgeous earlier at the Abbey, and you can tell Prince William had thought so too. But this outfit, it's just so pretty. It's princessy, it's girly, it's just perfect. She really is a beautiful looking woman. Prince William by her side. I mean, can these two just stop it? Just have an off day once in a while, please, for us mere mortals. Now, it wasn't just the Princess of Wales who looked lovely, all of the royal ladies did. Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, looked particularly lovely in another pink outfit. As I said, this colour pink really suits her. And she had a lovely matching pashmina, but her earrings, I have earring jealousy. She looked so beautiful and she was really enjoying herself. In fact, all of the royals were. There's so many photographs of them laughing, shedding a tear. The King and Queen looked particularly happy throughout as well. And more importantly, so did all of the veterans that had been invited. The concert had incredible performances by the King's Guard, Willard White, who is an absolute powerhouse, Tom Walker, John Newman. They had the cast of the musical Operation Mincemeat, just to name a few. There was also a Dad's Army sketch, which has again ignited people demanding for a reboot of the hilarious TV series. I love watching Dad's Army reruns, but I don't want the BBC to do it because the BBC will ruin it like they ruin everything else. Dad's Army is not something that can be wokeified if you want it to be successful. The King also gave a speech. I'm going to play a little clip for you here because he talks about his mother, the then Princess Elizabeth, who, as it turns out, was a bit of a party princess.
The celebration that evening was marked by my own late mother, who, just 19 years old, described in her diary how she mingled anonymously in the crowds across central London and, in her own words, walked for miles among them. The rejoicing continued into the next day when she wrote, "Out in the crowd again. Embankment, Piccadilly, rained so fewer people. Congered into house, sang till 2 a.m, bed at 3 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope your celebrations tonight are almost as joyful, although I rather doubt I shall have the energy to sing until 2 a.m, let alone, for that matter, to lead you all in a giant conga from here back to Buckingham Palace.
See, who says King Charles doesn't have a sense of humour? I actually think he's got a wicked sense of humour, but I would pay good money to see the King starting a conga line going back into Buckingham Palace. Now, there were other performances by Brian Cox, who read out parts of Winston Churchill's wartime speeches. There was an emotional testimony read out by Richard Armitage, telling the story of a man who lost his family in the Birmingham Blitz. There were not many a dry eye in the house. There were lots of songs and dances from the same era, but the show's climactic ending was a show-stopping, tear-jerking performance of We Will Meet Again by West End legend Samantha Barts. The King and Queen, alongside their guests and other royals, looked like they thoroughly enjoyed themselves as they all waved Union flags and sang along with the music. What an incredible tribute for VE Day. What a lovely time for all of the veterans that were sat on the stands watching the performance. Lots of people went to see the show. There were thousands there and everybody said it was a very good show. One thing that you can say about the royals, they certainly know how to put on a good concert. Now, of course, with everything that's been going on this week with a lot of the celebrations and commemorations and services for the veterans, the mainstream media cannot help itself. Every appearance of the royal family, they are running stories about Prince Harry like he's still here. But the thing is, he's not here. But the latest story that came out was that the royal family are blackballing Harry. Now, to me, blackballing implies that they are somehow rejecting him in some way, not showing concern or affection towards him, implying that he is somehow a victim in all of this. The thing is, Harry is not a victim. This entire week of royal appearances and commemorations and celebrations for VE Day is further proof that Harry is not needed, nor is he missed. Harry chose to walk away from a life of service and duty, and he betrayed not just his family, but the crown and the Queen, something that would be truly unfathomable to all of these incredible veterans sat alongside his family over the last few days. And of course, to all of those incredible men and women whose sacrifices we will always remember. With the path that Harry has chosen and the path that he still continues to walk, I do not think that the history books will remember Harry favourably in years to come, but he only has one person to blame for that. So guys, that's it for me on this video. I hope you enjoyed it. A bit of a mishmash. I brought you up, I brought you down. We've gone back up again. I hope you enjoy all of the photographs, and I will be back with you very soon. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care for now. Bye.